Let that quote hit you, because if you don't stop and actually feel what it's pointing to, you'll keep repeating the same emotional mistakes without even realizing it, not just in your head. Let it sink into your chest, because this is where your life quietly keeps breaking again and again, and you don't even know why. If you don't understand this, real love will keep slipping through your fingers, no matter how much effort you put in. Yet if you stay with me, really listen and absorb what I'm about to show you, your entire understanding of love, connection, and even self-worth can begin to shift. This isn't just theory. It's the root of why things haven't worked and how they finally can. Now ask yourself, why does love feel so close and yet always just out of reach? Why do you find yourself trying so hard, loving with all your might, yet ending up alone, misunderstood, or worse, invisible? Why do your relationships start like fireworks, so full of passion, excitement, even a strange kind of hope, only to end in confusion, miscommunication, or cold silence? Why do the people you fall for leave, drift, or turn into someone you don't recognize? And here's the hardest question of all. Why do the heartbreaks feel eerily familiar, even though the people change? Why, despite your promises to yourself, do you keep ending up with the same emotional wounds, the same unmet needs, the same ache in your chest? You might be wondering, is it just bad luck? Am I doing something wrong? Is something wrong with me? The answer is neither simple nor easy. Yet here's the brutal, honest truth you may have never heard. No one will fully love you until you begin to truly understand yourself. And by understand, I don't mean your favorite movie, your Enneagram type, or your birth chart. Not the version of you post online. Not the surface-level reflections that come up in casual self-help books. I'm talking about the deeper understanding. The kind that makes your voice shake. The kind that forces you to face what you've spent years trying to forget. The kind that changes not just how you love, but how you live. It means knowing the parts of you that you've buried, the anger you swallowed because it wasn't nice, the sadness you minimized because others have it worse, the need for connection you denied because it once led to pain, the longing, the shame, the softness, the fear. It means understanding the exact version of yourself you created to survive, so you can stop confusing survival with love. Because here's what Carl Jung discovered, and what modern psychology continues to affirm: until you become aware of what's unconscious in you, your wounds, your beliefs, your patterns, you will keep replaying them in every relationship, every connection, every "this time will be different" moment. Today, we're not going to talk about surface-level solutions. We're not going to blame your ex, or rant about dating culture, or list red flags. We're going to dive deep into the psychology of love, self-sabotage, and the unconscious forces that shape who you love, why you love, and why it hurts so much when it doesn't last. This is Carl Jung's world. A world of mirrors, shadows, and hard truths. A world where love isn't something you find. It's something you build from within. And once you understand that, really understand it, your entire relationship with love will begin to change. Let's begin. Relationships are mirrors. Carl Jung proposed something that flipped the idea of love on its head. Relationships don't just give us love, they reveal who we are. You may think you're falling for someone because of how they make you feel. Yet what if, just what if, they're actually reflecting back a part of you you've never met? Let's take an example. Have you ever been drawn to someone's charisma or confidence? It might not just be admiration. It could be your own repressed desire to be bold. They're mirroring your untapped potential. On the other hand, if arrogance infuriates you, it might be because you were taught to suppress pride. So when someone shows it openly, it agitates your hidden fear of your own arrogance. This is what Jung called projection, a defense mechanism where we see in others what we have disowned in ourselves. Think about this. The people who anger, attract, or confuse you the most are revealing the hidden curriculum of your inner world. The sweet talker who ghosted you, the emotionally unavailable person you chased, the one who pushed your buttons constantly. They weren't just random. They were mirrors, reflecting unresolved parts of your past, your shadow, and your unmet needs. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So before asking, why won't they love me? Ask, what is this person showing me about me? Because the mirror doesn't lie, and the reflection's trying to help you heal. the shadow, the hidden self. Now we step into the most transformative and often painful part of Jung's teachings, the shadow. The shadow is the side of you that you've disowned, not because it's evil, not because it's bad, but because it didn't fit the version of you the world would accept. From a young age, you were taught which parts of you were good and which parts needed to disappear. So you hid your jealousy, you silenced your anger, you denied your hunger for attention, and you did it all to belong. The result? You created a version of yourself that looks lovable, yet isn't whole. And when we are not whole, we seek in others what we refuse to give ourselves. That's why relationships become battlegrounds of unmet needs, masked fears, and confusing expectations. The truth is, the shadow doesn't vanish just because you ignore it. It leaks out in ways you can't control. In passive aggression, in jealousy, in self-sabotage, in overgiving, and in choosing people who hurt you in familiar ways. Jung didn't say, get rid of the shadow. He said, integrate it, because when you reclaim your shadow, you don't just become more honest, you become more free. Free to express what you need, free to set boundaries, free to stop playing roles and finally show up as you, messy, magical, and whole. Emotional triggers as road signs. Here's a concept that might change your life. Your emotional triggers are not flaws. They are road signs. Let's say someone tells you, you're so dramatic, you don't just feel annoyed, you feel attacked, dismissed, like a child being scolded again. Why? Because it's not just about the present moment. It's about an old wound being reopened. Carl Jung called these moments complex activations. A complex is a cluster of emotions and beliefs formed from past pain. When someone touches that nerve, consciously or not, you react strongly, maybe even irrationally. And here's the key. The more intense your reaction, the more important the insight underneath. Your anger is asking to be acknowledged. Your fear is pointing to an old pattern. Your defensiveness is guarding a deep insecurity. So the next time someone triggers you, don't rush to shame or silence it. Instead ask, what part of me is asking to be seen? This is shadow work in real time. And every trigger becomes a teacher, if you're willing to listen. Projection, the illusion of them. Let's go deeper into projection. One of Jung's most misunderstood yet essential teachings. Projection is what happens when we take a part of ourselves we don't want to deal with and assign it to someone else. You dislike someone's selfishness. Maybe you suppress your own needs too much. You envy someone's success. Perhaps you've buried your own ambitions. You always feel used in relationships. It's possible you unconsciously choose people who help you validate a belief that you're only lovable when you give. See, projection is seductive. It allows us to avoid ownership, yet it also traps us in a world of distorted reflections. In love, projection is deadly. You're not falling in love with the person in front of you. You're falling in love with what they represent, an ideal, a fantasy, a fix for your wounds. And when they fail to meet that fantasy, you feel betrayed, disappointed, abandoned, yet they never signed up to be your healer. They were just being themselves. This is why relationships built on unhealed projections feel confusing, because you're relating not to who the person is, rather to what they awaken in you. Real love begins when projection ends, and that begins with awareness. How ego blocks love. Now let's talk about something we all have, the ego. Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to survive social life. It's the version of you that knows how to be liked, accepted, validated. It's your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram presence, your dating app bio. It's the strong one, the funny one, the chill one, the fixer. The ego is not evil. It's adaptive, yet when it runs your relationships, it becomes a cage. Because love requires vulnerability, and your ego, it fears that. It says, don't let them see you cry. Don't show them how much you care. Don't admit you're scared. And so you keep your mask on. You pretend to be okay. You choose people who never challenge the act. Eventually, you feel unseen, unloved, and alone. Yet how can someone love the real you if you never let them see it? To love deeply, you must peel back the persona. You must risk being known. And when you do, the mask doesn't disappear. It becomes optional. Masculine and feminine wounds. Let's talk about emotional conditioning, because gender expectations play a huge role in how we learn to love and fear love. From birth, men are taught, don't cry, don't depend, don't lose. So they suppress their need for connection. They become performers of strength, and inside, they often feel lonely, unseen, or emotionally numb. Women, on the other hand, are taught, be sweet, be desired, be helpful, so they learn to overgive, over-apologize, and over-function in love. They shapeshift, they shrink, they call it loyalty, when it's really fear. None of this is your fault. Yet it is your responsibility to unlearn it, because these scripts weren't written by your soul. They were written by survival. Healing begins when you allow the masculine to feel and the feminine to speak her truth. And when both parts coexist, you build relationships based on authenticity, not tradition. Let's pause here for a breath. I want you to take these 3 questions with you. Maybe journal on them tonight. Who am I when no one is watching? What kind of love am I trying to repair from my past? What parts of me still feel unlovable? And why? Don't rush to answer. Sit with them. Let them stir. Because real love begins in reflection. Childhood wounds in adult love. Let's go back to where it all began. Your childhood. Because no matter how grown you are, the emotional patterns you live out in love were shaped long before you ever went on your first date. If you learned love was earned, you now overextend to prove you're worthy. If you learned attention only came after achievement, you now associate love with pressure. If you learned silence kept the peace, you now mistake self-abandonment for loyalty. Here's the kicker. Most of this happens unconsciously. You don't sit down and decide, I'm going to recreate my childhood wound. Yet your inner child is always trying to resolve unfinished business, and you unconsciously pick people who trigger those same needs, not to suffer. Instead, because a part of you is still hoping, this time, maybe I'll finally be loved for real. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means seeing it clearly, so it no longer defines your future. Healing through shadow work. So what do you actually do with all of this? The answer isn't in controlling others or fixing yourself like a broken machine. The answer is in integration. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming your whole self. You start by making room for all of you. The anger you learned to hide, the longing you judged as weak, the parts of you that feel ugly, too much, not enough. You stop rejecting yourself for being human. You stop demanding perfection before allowing connection. You stop asking others to give you what you refuse to give yourself. Shadow work is the ongoing process of turning your wounds into wisdom. And yes, it's messy, it's slow, it's rarely linear. Yet each layer you peel back brings you closer, not just to love, and even more so to real connection. Because when you can sit with your own darkness, you no longer fear someone else's. If this message has stayed with you this long, thank you. Truly, it means you're not afraid of truth, even the uncomfortable kind. So if you think someone you care about could benefit from this, feel free to share it with them. And if you want to keep exploring love, psychology, and growth, hit subscribe. We're in this together. Let's keep going. Love isn't found, it's built. We've been sold a dangerous myth that love is something you find, like treasure, that the right person will show up and everything will finally make sense. Here's the truth. Love isn't found, it's built. It's built through emotional risk, through choosing to stay present when it would be easier to run, through learning to speak your needs without shame and to hear someone else's without defense. The perfect partner doesn't exist, yet real partners do. They are the ones who aren't afraid to grow beside you, who meet you halfway, who do their own work, and you'll recognize them not by how they make you feel in the beginning, more importantly, by how you evolve together. So stop searching for completion. Start becoming someone who loves from wholeness. What does a conscious relationship look like? It's not drama-free. It's not fantasy. It's not fireworks every day. It's grounded. It's respectful. It's honest, even when it's hard. It's two people who don't need each other to survive. They choose each other to thrive. It looks like, I feel hurt, can we talk? Instead of passive aggression. I need space right now, instead of ghosting. I was wrong, instead of ego wars. It looks like mutual effort, not just love poems and grand gestures, as well as the quiet courage to show up consistently. And it begins inside you, because the most conscious relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with yourself. What wholeness feels like. So what does it feel like when you finally love from a place of wholeness? It feels like peace, like not needing someone to text back in 3 minutes to feel okay, like no longer obsessing over whether you're too much or not enough, like knowing that even if someone walks away, you'll still be whole. You no longer shapeshift, You no longer perform, you simply are. And because of that, you attract people who can meet you there. You stop trying to fix or rescue. You stop needing others to prove your worth. You become love. You embody it. And that changes everything. Because when you love from lack, you chase. When you love from fear, you control. Loving from wholeness transforms everything. You create. So here's the brutal, honest truth. No one can fully love you until you learn to love yourself. Not the curated version, not the likable mask. The whole you, the parts that cry in private, the parts that messed up, the parts that feel scared, angry, needy, ashamed. When you meet those parts with kindness, not avoidance, you shift your entire energy. You stop attracting chaos. You stop replaying old wounds. You stop searching for someone to complete you because you are already whole. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who you became to be loved. It's who you truly are, beneath it all. And when that person begins to love from the inside out, they no longer fear being unloved, because they know love isn't something you get. Love is something you become. So if you're ready to be loved deeply and fully, start with